What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? You are on the sidelines with the Sideline Guys. And today, people, today I am joined once again by the Podfather himself. The reason why we are all here, my guy, Derrick Myers. How's it going, brother?
All is well, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I'm pumped coming off the live yesterday. Got some good
Yes, sir.
energy, and I'm bringing that fight day energy into these football picks as well. I'm looking forward to looking at the slate
Yes,
and
sir.
trying to make something fun out of nothing, right? Because there isn't
Yeah.
too much here for us to sink our teeth in, but we're gonna
Yes,
do
sir.
it anyway. God damn it!
Yes,
While
sir.
you're here, though, make sure that you're following the brand first and foremost. OTS Media Co. on all social media platforms, OTS Media on YouTube. And you could also make sure you're following me at Negron MMA on Twitter as well as TikTok and Chris Negron underscore on Instagram. Where can the people find you, Derek?
Yes. At Derrick underscore OTS. That's Derrick, the black way to spell it.
Yes, sir. Nice and short and sweet, goddammit. But if you
Yes, sir.
haven't gathered already, you have joined us for a very special NFL edition of the Sideline Guys. But before we get into our week 15 slates, we got some news in the NBA world that is at this point just a parody, right? It's a comedy and it's a parody of the same joke, right? The same sick joke we've been watching play out for the last 3 years. Draymond Green has been suspended by the league indefinitely
Yes.
for his actions against young Yusuf Nurkic. I'm just going to start with this question right off the top, Derek. This man has been involved in non basketball activities for years now.
On top
Um,
of yours.
how do we correctly assess the situation and how should the league handle this? Because the fact that we're here again is fucking ridiculous.
So this is what if I'm not mistaken, I think the third or fourth suspension in this calendar year for him for these type of actions. Um, to be honest, I think for whatever reason, the league has allowed him to kind of like skate by all these years. I think right now is like too little too late, to be honest. You're not going to do anything to change him. Suspending him indefinitely and, making him take whatever classes he has to take or whatever, that's not going to do anything. Draymond is Draymond. He's going to come back and he's going to do the exact same thing. The Warriors are culpable with this as well. They have enabled this. They paid him, I think, $100 million extension, or signed into $100 million extension before the season started after he punched Jordan Poole. So, I mean, you tell me. I don't think that there's anything that they can honestly do. Um, I will say what I found. I saw was an interesting quote from him. Um, about the whole Rudy Gobert choke is that he said, when I watched it back, I said, damn, I held him much longer than I realized in the moment. Um, and you know what I concluded? Draymond Green is Moon Knight. He blacks out. He doesn't know what's taking place. He doesn't know that he beat these guys up. He doesn't know that he got involved in all these actions. And he wakes up and you know, he's calm and like, what are y'all talking about? He has no idea what he did. Draymond Green is Moon Knight. That's just what I think it's come to. Um, I think at this point there is nothing that again that they can honestly do. This is again too little, too late. Like this is a slap on the wrist to me, honestly. I think what he's done um, over the last year. We're not even talking about what he did prior to last year, you know. But even just like within the last year, to me is the actions of a person that should not be in the league.
Really?
I Because you can't say that you're talking about trying to protect players and have them do XYZ to better the league if all you're seeing every few months from this guy and probably even less than every few months um, are different actions that's detrimental to a player. and to himself, to be honest.
Mhm.
Because you don't know like what he all this reckless falling and stuff like that. That could end up hurting himself too. But yeah, to be honest, there's nothing that can be done. I don't see how you're allowed to stay in the league with stuff like that.
Damn. Honestly, I didn't expect you to go that way because if I'm being real here, I feel like this whole Draymond situation, I agree, it's way too late, right? Like this something like this need to have happened much earlier. But as far as Golden State's culpability and like the league's response, like this is gonna sound so weird, and I know um there's so many people that have this blanket take, right? The league is so soft. The league is so soft.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with
Mm-hmm.
that. I'm not saying this is a soft league. Um, but I do feel these are very blatant non-basketball plays, right? Like
Yes.
these are
Yes.
nothing to do with basketball at all.
Yeah.
So 100% this is a warranted response. Honestly, I'll be surprised if he ends up getting less than 20 games based on, like you
Yep.
said, just this
Yeah.
history, the recent history. But also, I mean, the man just has a highlight reel at this point, right? Better than some UFC fighters on the roster. This dude
Bro.
has multiple combination finishes, whether it's nut shots or rear naked chokes. This man is trying to pull everything off in the damn book.
Yeah.
It's so strange, dude. And I feel a little weird about the Golden State angle. Like I'm not sure that this is Golden State's fault at all. I feel like yes, there hasn't been a stern punishment for him, so no matter what, it's going to be looked at as enabling, right? I can admit that. But at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, I just feel like I can't imagine a world where what he brings to the table when we're talking strictly basketball wise outweighs these negative moments. Now, as someone that's a big fan of combat sports, right? This is a take that probably not many people will agree with. I feel like this Draymond Green shit is 100% like bullshit. Like no matter what, this deserves to be hard hitting. This deserves to be cracked down on. But at the same time, like this isn't malice at the palace. Like this isn't him
Mm-hmm.
doing something extremely reckless that is completely out of bounds, out of the ordinary. I feel like all the history is what is most important at this point. We have piled up enough infractions to at least warrant some kind of response from the league. But I can't imagine a world, right, where Golden State doesn't sign him and he's not on an active roster somewhere else. Like I feel like his what he brings to the table basketball wise, um, you could argue, is this right? Like this is a part of what people are signing up for when they're getting this guy. And to an
Yeah.
extent, whether or not that is okay in today's league, me personally, I feel like while these are egregious acts and you deserve to be suspended for, um, I really don't think that this is something that should warrant him being banned from the league or something that is so unforgiving or so far gone completely with such malice that he was just out there trying only to hurt people. Um, I think this Nurkic one more so than the other ones. You can kind of point to an accident, but
Mm. So
the pattern is doing him no favors for sure.
so let me push back on that because we just saw in the playoffs where he curb stomped Devontae Sabonis right in
And
his
I was
face.
on record saying he didn't get enough of a suspension for that. So I
He
agree.
didn't. He didn't. And I think between that's why I'm saying I'm limiting it to this calendar. Well, this past year,
Mhm.
the punch to your own teammate, which derailed your whole season. The stomp to
I'm
Sabonis.
sure that's happened before, many times behind
Yeah.
closed
Okay.
doors.
So
But
players fight. I'm like you get into arguments stuff like that, but that whole situation made no sense. And then you see that the Warriors traded Jordan Poole away, and signed Draymond to an extension. After the punch, that's after the stomp. Like to me, it's like when is enough enough, right? When like just last season alone, that should have told you, man. I don't know. This there's stuff that has to be done before we sign you to something this huge. You signed Draymond Green, but you didn't sign Klay Thompson. You see what I'm saying? Like it's weird. It's weird. And then Steve Kerr came out talking about the suspension yesterday, and he made it seem as if this just started last year. That's not the case. That's not the case. We saw him have an incident with Jalen Brown in the finals where
Steven Adams.
Steven Adams kicked him in the nuts. Um, he climbed up Jason Tatum's back off trying to get a rebound, which made no sense. He's scratched I think LeBron's eyeball. He slapped LeBron in the balls. There's so many things that took place prior to last season. Like no. And now I agree. The stuff that he does in a basketball sense, those are valuable things, right? But you can do those things without doing those things.
For sure.
You know
That's
why?
a
I've seen
unequivocal.
Marcus Smart do it. I've seen Marcus Smart do it year after year. You know what I'm saying? Tony Allen, he was a rough rider. You know what I'm saying? Like there are players that did certain things that did the dirty work for their teams that made the star players better without the antics. And that's what I'm talking about. I he's got, like you said, he's got a whole highlight reel. I mean, you could make an argument that if he went to WWE right now, he has a video package to use as his entrance.
Definitely.
Like he has one. You know what I'm saying? It's just it doesn't make any sense. So I at this point, I don't know what he like can do to make this better. There's nothing that he can do to me that's going to stop this. You are who you are. You are who you are. You signed the contract. You got the money. You see what I'm saying? Like I don't know what else can be done. This is what we're gonna see with Draymond when he comes back.
And what I think is so strange about it too is the way that he has become this media personality in the last 2 years, on top of this behavior. To me, once again, I'm being real here when I say that each of these individual moments taken individually are not cause for, hey, let's ban this man for the league. It's the totality
Mm-hmm.
of the circumstances, which I can
Yeah,
get
yeah,
the foul taste in people's mouths for sure.
yeah.
I think the problem is the lackadaisical response from the league. And this is something that I felt
Yes, yes.
across sports, right? It's not just NBA that has this problem, right? If you're not gonna penalize fouls for what they are, then
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, they're gonna be looked at as something that can be forgiven, right? So
Right.
the fact that this is happening, I agree with you, is already too late. Hopefully, this can actually spark some actual change, right? Because the only way to really incentivize people to stop doing what they're doing is to give them a fucking reason not to. If he
Right.
it comes back before 20 games, in my opinion, there was no point of suspending him in the first place because
No.
it was already too late for you to have a response like this. Like
Yeah.
you took too long, and this is why these things have become par for the course.
And see, the thing about it that throws me off is he's still able to practice with the team. And if I'm not mistaken, this is not like a suspension without pay. Like if you want changed behavior, you hit him in the pockets, to be honest.
Yep.
And the reason why I say that it is not behavior that should be allowed for someone to stay in the league is because by the rules that the league has put out, the parameters that they have set, the tone that they have made, this is not in line with that at all. So if that's what you're going to do, then by definition, this man should not be in the league. Is he talented enough to be in the league? Yes, he is. But by the definition of what the league has put in place with their parameters, that's not someone that should be playing right now. That's why I say that's why I say that because it doesn't make any sense. You can't say you want your brand to be a specific way, but then when someone is tarnishing your brand, you're just excusing it. So then it begs to ask a question, because why would John Morant be suspended for as long as he got suspended for holding a gun in a video? If you're gonna suspend John Morant the way you did, you should also levy that kind of suspension onto Draymond Green, which should be heavier than what John Morant did. And what John Morant did was stupid. That was
Yeah.
stupid, right? And I'm not even talking about the whole thing that happened with the incident with the teenager. I'm literally just talking about this the thing that literally got him suspended this last time was the guns on social media. So if that's the case, then you have to make sure that your messaging is consistent. And that's my problem. The league is not being consistent. They're not. They're not being consistent when it comes to punishing. And off
Mhm.
topic, they're not being consistent when it comes to the referee, to their officials. Because you
Ooh, let's
cannot.
table that because we could
I,
have a full
I
discussion on that.
want to talk about that so bad, because there's a lot of stuff that's taking place that I think that they need to take care of, that they're not taking care of, which is tarnishing the brand.
Consistently inconsistent.
Consistently inconsistent.
Holy shit, you gave me a lot to chew on right here. You got me hyped up. I don't even know which way to go. Um, as far as this whole Draymond bit, I think once again, the latest infraction on its own, is it worthy of a 25 game suspension? I don't think so. But
Mm-hmm.
because of everything that's going on, I wouldn't mind that at all. Now, I agree with you. I think the fact that Ja got 25, I was about to say 25 years, 25 games based off of
25
what
to life.
happened is very silly. Yeah, literally 25 to life. And he needs to have a parole meeting with Adam Silver before he comes back in the league. Um, I think that was a long punishment, but that one, in my opinion, was a lot more understandable because once again, the league put him on notice. The league, to a certain extent,
Yes.
hasn't put Draymond on notice. I hope this is that moment for them, right? It needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you said that he is still getting paid right now makes no sense to me. That's not a suspension, right? You're just chilling
No, you're on
under the
vacation.
guys, and exactly, you
That's
don't have to
PTO.
play. Exactly, you. I give you those days for free. I'm not even playing. I'm just chilling. You know, I'm like that's
Right.
crazy. Hands down, he should be at least either fully away from the team or not getting paid. One of the two, probably both. Um, but what just doesn't make sense to me is ultimately Draymond, the character, Draymond, the villain, deserves to be in this league, regardless of all these instances, in my opinion. He deserves to be in the league. Now, moving forward, this is where you need to create a course for correction, right? If this stuff continues to happen after the suspension, as if the suspension never happened, if we get another incident, no matter who it is, like that Sabonis stomp on the chest, there's no explanation for shit like that. Like no matter how
No.
much you try to say, oh, I had to make sure the ground was beneath me as I was running back. I didn't want to fall. Um,
Yeah.
you don't stomp the yard to find the ground underneath you, brother. That is not something that makes sense. So
No.
um let's penalize these infractions like they deserve to, and then there is actually going to be an incentive to not do these things. Until there is an incentive to not do these things,
Yeah.
there's going to be no reason for him or anyone else to act appropriately, let's say. So
Yeah.
um it was just funny to me. I'm not gonna lie, Derek, to hear you say, we just need to get this man out of the league because I'm like, God damn, bro, if that's that level of punishment is deserved, then damn, the league truly is soft. But once again, this is me probably just being way too accepting of things that shouldn't be within the parameters of basketball play.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask you now, let's say regardless of the suspension, right? Let's just imagine a world where he gets 20 games.
Mm-hmm.
After he comes back, if we're scuffling for a rebound, right? And he throws his hand back and slaps someone in the head, what happens? Is it an automatic 20 game no matter what it is? Because I don't necessarily agree with that either.
No, I don't. I think you judge it based off of like what the actual action is. So pertaining to the Nurkic incident, right? He literally said that Nurkic had his hand on his hip, holding him, and he was trying to get away. Did you? Let me tell you something, bro. One, in basketball, people touch your hip, right? Like defenders are going to touch you. Not he was acting as if Nurkic pulled him. He literally like just like it was like a soft thing, just
I
following
got
where he
my
was
hand in
going.
your pocket. Yeah,
I,
exactly.
and that's where I'm confused because again he's acting as if he blacked out, and if he's having these blackouts, like I'm truly being honest, if these are medical blackouts that he's having, he should not be playing. I don't care because this now is acting is coming across as if he's the first NBA player with CTE.
Yeah.
That's how
I
it's
think
coming
he knows what
across.
he's doing. And the fact that
He
he's a
knows what he's
part of
doing.
this media cycle is what is ridiculous to me because
Right.
it's like the pro wrestling thing. Like you said, like the connection is true, brother. We need to get fucking Dwayne on here to talk about this. This
Right.
is life of bot shit. Um Hands down, bro, the WWE connection is so real because he's in the media like, well,
Yes.
me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Me? I would do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
the fact that he has the mouthpiece to make the case the way he does, it just shows once again, you know exactly what you're doing, right? There's no way you're having these, like you said, prolonged moments of just blackouts, right? And
Yes.
if that is what happens when you are, like you said, having a lapse in fucking memory, then that is something that needs to be observed by a doctor for sure.
No.
But
Yeah.
he knows
Yeah. For sure.
it's tongue in cheek. If you watch
Yes.
these like podcast moments, like it clearly is like he knows what he's doing. He's trying
Hmm.
to take whatever angle he can to justify it or to make it right. But we know what's going on, right? At the end of the day, it's a non-basketball play and it deserves to be penalized for such. Um, this is the league's fault, though, in my opinion. The fact
Yes.
that we've
Yeah.
gotten to
Yeah.
this point and this is normal, right? This is something that can be explained away in those terms. Hey, it worked before, right? So why not try it again? So at least they're doing the right thing, taking a step towards the right direction to try to fix this. But we're so far down this road, man. Even after this, I could see a world where these kind of things continue to happen. And if you have the right guys, right? If you have the right angle, the right story you could spin, you might not even get a suspension for it. So it's crazy. I think no matter what from this point on, though, there needs to be a microscope on him. And it's not even a team thing. Like it's really just him. Like it's not like everyone is dirty on the Warriors. It's just
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's keep a microscope on this thing and let's actually do something about it because the more
Yeah.
you didn't, you see what happens, right? We cultivated this thing where now it's normal for these things to
Hmm.
happen. So
Yeah.
let's fix this. But god damn it, um,
Yeah.
at this point, I feel like the genie's out of the bottle, right? Am I crazy for feeling this way? Like I feel like if someone else were to do this, right? Um, you would almost look at it if they got an immediate suspension of this caliber. You almost look at it
Hmm.
like, hey, well, what the fuck? Like this is my first strike. Like,
So
why am
yeah.
I getting this response?
Yeah. And I remember like when Grayson Allen came into the league after like a year or two. You know how many times I've heard people say, "Yeah, this guy doesn't belong in the league," because he was acting childish and he was putting other players at risk. You know how many times that has been said? So if
Yeah,
if
but I feel
we're
like
gonna
his
have that
reputation has changed since. But I feel you.
sense, no, but like if you watch him play, he's not doing those things anymore. The reputation is still there,
Yeah.
right? So if that's the case, that's that same way of looking at things when it comes to Grayson Allen or any other player that we've deemed to be a dirty player needs to be applied to Draymond Green.
But are people really saying this man is clean? Like, is there anyone arguing that he isn't dirty?
I'm gonna be honest, that's what it sounds like the Warriors are saying.
Hmm.
Because again, based off of what I heard Steve Kerr say, it comes across as if this has never happened before. And it has.
Hmm.
We have years of tape
Yeah.
on this man doing dirty things. And honestly, there are things that took place that weren't as egregious, But if you're watching the game, you can see it and it's just like, yo, bro, come on now. Come on. I've
Yeah.
seen him dump Marcus Smart off his back. Like get low and dump him midair.
He gets
So
low in these rebound scenarios very
so,
often. I would say that.
that's why I'm confused. Like there are things that are putting other players at risk. And if you're gonna
Mhm.
get mad at other players, you have to get mad at Draymond Green too. This does not is no you can't just selectively get angry about at certain players.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I would argue Draymond Green has been worse than Grayson Allen.
Oh, 10 times. He actually has a reputation to follow the I mean, there's actually tape to follow the reputation, right? There's actually
Yes, yes,
you could argue, especially in the actual NBA, Grayson Allen almost. I mean, there are some instances, but to the
yes,
level of
yes.
Draymond, not at all. And I agree, he's almost looked at because of his role in the media as like a darling to a certain extent.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it once again, it's kind of the explaining it away that rubs me the wrong way because if you're gonna do this shit and you're just gonna be real about it, like at the end of the day, you deserve to be suspended either way. But
Hmm.
when you're in making a public campaign every time something like this happens about trying to clear your name and why it wasn't correct, like you're doing like it's double time now because not only are
Right,
you doing the fucked up things, but you're trying to make it seem like everyone else is crazy.
right.
But yeah, man, I don't think anyone in the league or around the league has tried to say that Draymond is an angel, has tried to say that he isn't a dirty player or someone that needs to be watched out for. But goddamn, it's too late to be having this kind of response. We've emboldened this man to think that he's gonna get away with explaining these things away. So
Yes.
now it's very hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube, like I said, and
Let
I
me ask you a
what
question.
I find weird too is this isn't something that you would point to other players on any other organization to say, "Hey
Hmm.
man, let's emulate this part of this guy's game." Like
Right.
everything else basketball wise, yes.
Yeah.
Um but there's nobody else coming up that's the enforcer of the NBA, right? Like
Hmm. Hmm.
it's more so about the style of play and emulating like for a long times Grant someone close to your heart I would imagine Grant Williams got a lot of comparisons to Draymond.
Yes.
He is the enforcer type role, but there isn't footage of him doing egregious shit like that, right? Like that
No.
doesn't exist.
No.
So 100% you do the crime, you do the time. I mean, if it's anything less than 20 games, this is a slap on the wrist. And in a season
Hmm.
where the team isn't doing well, it's actually going to matter, right? What you've
Yes.
done is now going to affect your team extremely negatively while they're already
Hmm.
not on the best run. And they have to answer for that in that way. But as far as the internal stuff, right? Like what happened
Hmm.
last season with Jordan Poole, I thought it was strange that he never got suspended for that from his team, right? So,
That's what I'm saying. That's enabling. That's
yeah,
enabling because now you're making the situation look as if, oh, this is this is just what happens type of thing. And I'm not saying again that people don't get into arguments and stuff like that, but what took place, that's not something that's not an everyday thing. Let's like
mhm,
the arguing, yeah, but straight up punching your teammate in the mouth like that, come on, bro. Come
yeah,
on.
and
And
a
if
fucking
especially if you're
cheap
talking about
shot at
having
that too, like just a
right,
bitch move all around.
it is. So I have a question for you about Draymond though. We know that when it comes to Hall of Fame, Steph is first ballot. Clay, I'm sure is gonna be first ballot. Do you think that this kind of thing hurts Draymond's chances of getting into the Hall of Fame now?
Not at all. I
I don't
think
either.
this is almost a part of it, right?
Yeah.
This is who this guy is. And do I think that that's a negative thing? this is where my hot takes come in. I feel like okay, I had to think about that because I was about to say something really fucking stupid. I don't think that there should be players known for things like this, and that's what makes them great. But I think what he's done to deserve that Hall of Fame spot is solidified at this point. If he was on any other organization, right? Let's say
Mm-hmm.
he had the same exact run, but he was with the Phoenix Suns and only had one title.
Mm-hmm.
He would not be deserving of that spot. Is more so about the team success and longevity that he has been a part of that solidifies him, in my opinion. Um, but damn, that's a tough question. I don't know if whether or not that changes the voters' eyes or the way they look at it. But just
Yeah.
personally, I feel like it wouldn't because I mean, there's been players that have had the same exact reputation that has gotten in as well, and that's a part of what's celebrated, right? So, um, yeah, I don't see it negatively affecting that at all. I feel like had he had not been as successful with team success on top of individual success, I think it should not be considered at all for being a Hall of Fame player or
Mm-hmm.
caliber player. But because of what he's been a part of and what he established himself, right? This isn't like fucking Anderson Varejao getting a chip with the Cavs,
Right.
right? Like this
Right.
is
Right. Right.
an
Right.
integral piece. So damn, you got me thinking here, but ultimately I do feel that he's still deserving of the accolades he gets. Um, but that's why this is so kind of at this point still feels like a slap on the wrist because the fact that this hasn't happened already
Mm-hmm.
when there's such a reputation, it's way too late, overdue at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think overall it is going to hurt his chances of getting into the Hall of Fame, but I think that there like based off his numbers and stuff like that. Yeah. But when you're talking about the totality of things, and again, we have a whole highlight reel. I don't know if that's going to be levied against him or not. I'll put it like that. Does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Based off numbers, yes. Based off team success, yes. But when it comes to this, is this going to be what, ultimately either takes him a minute to get into the Hall of Fame? Probably. Is it the thing that voters probably would use to not put him in the Hall of Fame? Probably. Probably. But yeah, ultimately he probably will get in. Um, and it's sad too because when you think about it, prior to all this stuff, at least within the last 3 years, it was no question. Now it's like, and that's why I'm kind of like I'm confused because I like I don't know. Like again, you can be the enforcer, you can do all the dirty work, you can do the dirty work without being a dirty player, and that's my
Mhm.
issue is that he's become a dirty player. He's become a dirty player, and when your team faces the Warriors and Draymond is in the lineup, you you're worried about how your team is going to come out. I'll put it like that. I was concerned in the finals.
Mm.
I was concerned because I didn't know what he was going to do.
Yeah, those are all very fair takes, and it's funny because even at this point, we've been podcasting for years at this point, and I say words
Yeah.
like bitch, and as soon as I say it, I'm like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble with the Podfather. God damn it. But I got a question for you before we move on to this.
Yeah.
Commissioner Derrick, how would you have handled this in the interim, right? So we've had these multiple infractions at this point of the season. Earlier on, would there have been a different response from you? And what do you think should be done? What is the appropriate response to this infraction?
Yeah. The I think there could be a case like in certain situations years back where it's like it's a one off. Okay. All right. Once the whole thing with Jordan Poole took place, suspension immediately, suspended indefinitely without pay. to make sure that he actually goes out and does the work to become a better person and teammate. Because again, you cannot have the message of trying to be the well, I mean, they are a global organization, right? The NBA is a global brand. That's something that everybody knows, that everybody loves, right? But you can't talk about doing the things that you want to do and have the outreach that you want to have and send the specific messages that you're trying to send and allow that to go unpunished. Because
For sure.
had he been suspended without pay indefinitely last year when that took place, I almost want to say that I guarantee the Sabonis thing would have happened. And then I don't know how everything would have taken place with him with the contract extension and then also moving on from Jordan Poole. I don't know. I don't know. But I don't know, man. He would have definitely been suspended indefinitely. Would it have made a difference? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But you cannot come down heavy on Morant and be light on him.
Yeah, because it's two
Granted,
different
those are
things,
two
right?
different things. Granted, yeah, they are two different things. The problem though is you cannot act as if what Draymond is doing is beneficial to the league. It's
For
not
sure.
beneficial.
Undoubtable. But once again, though, I think the problem really lies in the fact that there's been this lack of response. Like,
Right.
that's what made the John Morant things A so stupid, but B understandable because
Right.
we
Right.
already put you on notice for this, right? Like
Yes.
it's like
Yes.
being told by your job, hey man, you've been pretty late this month. Like I know it's been happening, some traffic, it's understandable, but
Right.
please, we got to make sure you're here on time. And then you show up with a fucking Dunkin' Donuts coffee in your hand and you're like, good morning, guys. And they're like, what the fuck, man? Like, we just talked about this. Like, it's the same
Yes.
thing. The fact that there wasn't this outreach earlier is what is allowing these things not to continue happening. The only reason they happen is because of Draymond's blackouts. The
Yeah.
the real reality of it is if we're not going to penalize the fucking issue, then no matter what, these things are going to keep happening, right? I think after that Rudy Gobert thing, which love saying that man's name, no matter what, whenever that incident happened, he did get suspended, right? But that should
Mm-hmm.
have been this level of response, in my opinion.
Right.
That
Right.
was a fucking stupid ass thing. I mean, I laughed at it because let's be honest here, even that was not an egregious infraction, I would argue. But it's beyond a basketball play. And once we get there, it deserves to be punishable, in my opinion. Um, so now that the league is trying to put him on notice, I think this is a story that we're going to have to keep our eyes on to see,
Yeah.
what consistency comes out of this, because now you have to create a precedent. There's no excuse at this point. If he comes back after, like I said, after less than, let's say, 7 games or something like that, if he comes back in such a short order,
Mm-hmm.
I expect something like this to happen again before the end of the season. And it's going to be a game of, well, are you sure? Because I meant to do this again. And
Right.
at that point, it's already too late for those kind of conversations, in my opinion. There, no matter
Yes.
what goes on from this point forward, everything should be assumed that this is your second strike, right? Like, and this is real quick. Once again, I hate to do this, but I'm gonna go on an
No.
MMA rant real quick. Something that
Please.
I hate about MMA as a whole, but specifically in the UFC, the organization, in my opinion, that has the power to make change about this,
Mm-hmm.
is they have a list of fouls, right, that are listed explicitly. And throughout the fight, whenever these infractions happens, they've recently adopted a new policy, which I am fond of, right? I think it's right that if
Mm-hmm.
as an athlete you get fouled, you deserve to have 5 minutes, right? You deserve to have time
Yes.
to
Yes.
acclimate yourself appropriately, because before
Mm-hmm.
we lived in a world where you'll get poked in the eye and you'll be like, ref, damn, he poked me in the eye. And then they'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, but can you see? Are you ready to
Yeah.
fight? Like, and bro, like that, I deserve time to reset myself at least, right? So good. We got up to
Mm-hmm.
that standard. But
Mm-hmm.
still, to this day, whenever there's an infraction, we go on a separate system that I'm calling the warning system, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in MMA, you'll get warned for one foul, and that warning doesn't count for other fouls, right? So you could
Right.
accidentally poke someone in the eye and
Mm-hmm.
then seconds later kick them square in the nuts, and they will get another 5 minute timeout. But they
Yes.
most likely will not take a point from you because they'll say
Right.
that this is inadvertent. This is not on purpose. Fuck all that. Let's leave the warnings in the back, right? Let's tell the
Mm-hmm.
people in the back, hey, if you grab the fence, you're getting a fucking point taken. If you kick
Right.
someone in the nuts, you're getting a point taken. If you
Right.
poke someone in the eye, you're getting a poke. Even if there's going to be instances where those fouls aren't warranted of a point deduction, but they happen anyway, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what, from that point forward, you are incentivizing these things not to happen, and it will happen less. That's that.
Right.
That seems very simple to me, right? Why can't
Right.
we
Right.
enact this? I don't understand. Same thing should go for these scenarios. If you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
actually suspend guys and hit them in the pockets for doing these things, trust me, they're not gonna do them as often. I promise.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's and I completely agree with that. Money talks.
Yeah,
Money talks.
money talks, bullshit walks. And
Yep.
god damn it, we need to get to walking too, because we've been on this for
Yes, sir.
goddamn too long. But I love it. I love getting into these hot debates with my guy Derrick, because he reminds me all the time that even though one of us here has a button down, he's the one that's really buttoned up. Next up, we got to talk about a certain man getting fired, right? We've talked about the trajectory of this team for the last 2 years, and nobody has wanted this team to be successful more than me, right? Shout out to Matt. I'm sorry we even got to do this to you, brother. But Brandon Staley has finally been fired after the Chargers got absolutely smoked 63 to what was it, 21,
Yeah.
after going up 49-0 on the fucking Chargers. Holy hell. I was in the middle of doing a live and I looked at the score and I thought my computer was going through
Right.
something. I thought I had a virus. I'm like, hold on, wait. 49, am I reading this correctly? The Raiders wasn't wasn't Josh Jacobs out? Like I'm here thinking about all these things. Like, wait, this doesn't make sense. Um, a man that has deserved to be fired, in my opinion, over a season for now at this point, has finally
Yeah.
gotten canned. Um, my question for you is how does a organization go so rogue, right? Like for this long, to have this much talent and to not be able to figure this out for this long. How did he keep this job this long, Derek?
White privilege. That's the only answer I can come up with, to be honest, because I've not been able to figure anything else out. I told you beginning of the season I thought he should have been gone, um, prior to figuring out anything else on the roster. That that if the Chargers don't do what they need to do by mid-season, then you need to make some moves. And the move I thought was Brian Staley being fired first before you start trading your key pieces away, right? You don't want to act too rash and jump to conclusions. But he had the audacity after the game yesterday to say that he thought he should still keep his job. If that's not white privilege, I don't know what is. Because you can't keep putting out that type of record, and they got blown out last night. You can't keep being a subpar at your job and expecting to still keep it. Now he's kept it a lot longer than I thought he was going to.
Mhm.
But yeah, this is there's no explanation as to why he got fired and the GM got fired. So we'll see if this lights a fire under the Chargers.
It's too
What
late.
how long I don't yeah, it is too late. But I'm
Too
saying,
late.
like, for the next season though, are you looking to see what the new GM and the new coach do? Or are you going to then, you know, by draft start trading players away?
Hmm.
That's yet to be seen. Keenan Allen is always out the lineup, you know? Like, you might be able to get some good pieces for him. Like,
Mhm.
but that offensive line has to be fixed.
Yeah.
I'm not putting this on him. I'm not putting on Justin Herbert too much. But I think, again, I thought we hyped Herbert up a little too fast. This is the problem that I have. This is why I was saying to you last week the whole Brock Purdy thing of putting the gold jacket on him a year or two into his career makes no sense. Like everyone was talking about how generational of a generational talent Herbert is, but we're not seeing the fruits of that, come through. And I'm not saying that he's not. I'm not saying that he can't be that type of player.
Mhm.
But jumping on this bandwagon and saying that this guy is compared to Tom Brady and all these other guys, that's way too far. That's way too far. You cannot say that when he's not doing anything. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Give
man.
it some time. Let's see what Justin Herbert does under a new regime. And if you still get the same result, it's time to move on. Period.
Honestly, I think the Chargers would be silly as hell to move on with him, even if they don't do well next season, just because
Yeah.
this is a very tough league. I'll start
Yeah.
there. This is a very
Yeah.
tough league. Honestly, this
Yeah.
is and maybe the hot take king right now, but I feel like across across sports in general right now, we're kind of in a golden era, in my opinion, of athletics. Like I feel like
Yes.
we are
Yes. Yes.
watching this is the
Yes.
modern era of sports, which
Yep.
is I know that sounds ridiculous to say out loud. No shit. But like as far as being in a league where their like level of competitiveness is at an all-time high, you can acknowledge that team success is important to acknowledge a player's greatness, but is also something that needs to be viewed at as a case by case basis. I think no
Yes.
matter what, his track record has shown that he is a very promising player.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, the team success has been nowhere near what has been expected. Now, I think 100% a coaching change needed to happen way before this season, even. I feel like the
Yes.
fact that he was back for this season was super surprising to me because there were already sort of moments where we kind of felt like the team went rogue, right? Moments where
Mm-hmm.
we're like, how do we even end up with a year like this, man? We had some injuries, right? But even then, it shouldn't be this bad. And the way that they for the last 5 weeks or so, I would say, really fell apart. Like comparatively, I felt like 5 weeks ago they were still in a place where, hey, maybe they could figure it out and end up in a
Yeah.
playoff spot, right?
Yeah.
And we are so far from that at this point. So
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Let's get some fresh faces in here. Let's figure this out now. I can't wait to ask you this because as soon as Sean said this to me yesterday, right, I was like, oh man, I need to talk to Derrick about this. So Sean has said that the plan all along has been that as soon as Brandon Staley loses his job, that Bill Belichick is going to find his way to LA and coach this team. Um, who would you want to see get this opportunity? First of all, and how would a Belichick team change fit in this scenario? Is that something you would be interested in?
No. Um. Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy to
I don't
me
think they're letting that guy
needs.
go.
Look, it's if you're not giving him the head coaching position in Washington, let him go. Let him go. I like because it still blows my mind that he is not a head coach. So why not? Unless you have an Antonio Pierce type of coach on your staff right now, who is it that you have in the building that's going to change the culture? The culture sucks.
Mhm.
Brian Flores could be a very good candidate as well.
Yeah,
So, yeah, Bill Belichick, is he going to be the hottest name out there? Yeah, if he's actually fired, if you believe the rumors that he's gonna be fired by the end of the season, yeah, he will be the hottest name out there. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't. I have to actually see Robert Kraft fire Bill Belichick. I have
might
to
even be a
actually
trade.
see it. Hey, if it's a trade, that'd be fire right there. But I said um, to me, I think the Patriots issues um came about with Gonzalez going down, and I think Judon went down as well.
Hmm.
Where the biggest issues came into play. You know, now you can't stop anybody, you can't catch up. You know, it's a trickle down effect. So I don't know that I fully buy into the fact that he's being fired. So yeah, the Patriots issues to me are separate than what the Chargers have going on, because at least the Patriots have a culture. They have an identity for their team. The Chargers, I don't know who they are. Outside of being frauds, I don't know who they are.
That's all they are.
That's all they are, you know. And if I'm them, I'm trying to see how much or what I can get for Eckler, trying to see what I can get for Keenan Allen. I like we'll see. Let's see what takes place. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see though. I think they have a they. That's the thing too. They have the team to compete
Yeah. On both sides of the ball. So it's
on
like,
both sides of the
how do
ball.
we get here?
So,
Word to Evanescence. Word to.
eh,
I used to know you so well, brother.
bro, I don't see how you have all that talent and you're this bad outside of a culture that is toxic. So let's see what Staley's firing does. If you go out and you go get someone else, and all the players able to buy in, and this looks like what it was supposed to look like from the jump next season, then yeah, that's your answer.
Mhm.
Keep everybody. You just needed a new voice in the locker room. Um, part of me is really suspicious about how simple that would be. Like,
Yeah.
because that doesn't make sense. Because even if you're not listening to the coach, all of y'all are competitors, right? So
Hmm.
there is a level of ineptitude that is out there on the field in general. I'm not
That
just
needs
looking
to
at
be washed
names,
away.
right? So
Hmm.
maybe there's a chemistry issue there too on both sides of the ball. Mind you, this is the issue that chemistry issue. That's what we had. That was the issue we had after the Super Bowl. Players did not want to play with Carson Wentz. You see what I'm saying? They did not want to play for that guy. And you had the locker room torn. Is that the
Yeah.
case here? I don't know. But there is something that is causing a rift with that team. That the talent is there, the big names are there, the results aren't. So yeah, let's see what takes place. If getting that new voice in there is what stirs the pot, and that's what steers the ship into the right direction, great. I slick doubt that's all that's going to take place though.
Yeah, man. I think this iteration of this Chargers team is done for. I think, like you said, probably gonna I'm not sure about Keenan Allen. I think if anyone's going to be moved, it's probably Eckler, which is sad. But
For sure, for sure.
once again, the RB position is looked at as we'll find you next year. Don't worry. Hey, you've been good to us, but there's
Right,
someone out there that will be better and much cheaper.
right.
Uh, but whew, we need to exhale here, man. I feel like all
Yeah, man.
this negativity is seeped into our pores at this point, man. This is what happens when you talk about mediocre franchises for this long.
Man.
We have finally arrived to the point where we can talk about week 15. God damn it. Whew. Okay, let's shake it off. Let's get back into business. Our first game on this Saturday window, because there are
Right.
3 Saturday games today that we're going to be going over. God damn it. We have
Sir.
Vikings on the road against the sneaky Browning led Bengals at 1 p.m. Why is this a very difficult game for me to side on, Derek? Why is this so hard for me to come up with a pick? Because God damn it, it
Uh,
should be the Bengals no matter what. But there's so many weapons on that Vikings team, man. This is gonna be a shootout no matter what, in my opinion.
yeah. And I think Dobbs is not starting this week, if I'm
Yeah,
not
he was
mistaken.
benched, yes, which I don't agree with, but
I don't agree with that either. I'm definitely. I think I'm going with the Bengals. Mainly because you're starting. I don't even know who the QB is going to be for Minnesota this week, but Justin Jefferson said he's playing. I personally don't think he's going to be at full strength to go off, right? Um, and I think the Browns. I think the Bengals have more firepower, if you want to say, um, right now than the Vikings. So yeah, I think I'm going with the Bengals on this one, but it is a hard one to figure out because both have injuries at QB, right? So I beginning of the season, this would have been like one of those must watch games, for different reasons. I think this is like
Mhm.
a must watch for just to see like this could be very interesting. But yeah, no, I'm gonna take the Bengals on this one.
So strange, dude. First, their starter is Nick Mullins, which
Nick
shout out.
Mullins,
He's
yes,
been
yes,
around. Shout out.
yes.
But they have officially named Dobbs as their QB3, and their backup is now a rookie named Jaren Hall. So the storyline gets even more
What?
strange, right? Yeah, the storyline gets even more strange because clearly this man just got shoved into the back burner for what reason I have no clue, brother. But
Okay,
it feels like some bullshit to me.
so that man came to Minnesota, balled out, and he's the third string QB this week.
Ridiculous, ridiculous.
All right.
Dude, this is
All right.
another throw the whole franchise out when we
Yeah.
talk about the
Yeah.
Vikings, man. Such a
Yeah.
strange team and strange organization. I'll go with the
Mm,
Bengals too, even though it pains me. But hey, it's good for my fantasy teams, especially the ones
yeah.
I'm in playoff with. Good luck, brothers. Next
Yes,
up,
sir.
our 4:30 game on Saturday, we have the Steelers on the road against the Colts. We have a mid-off, if I've ever heard of one. Um, I feel like this game would have been easy to pick a couple weeks ago, but the Steelers have been just absolutely just shit in the bed left and right. But so have the Colts, right? So
Yes.
I'm just gonna go out on a whim here, and I'm gonna say that the Steelers are gonna win this one, probably just because of their defense. Um, but I won't be surprised either way, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
rooting for the Colts, but I think I'm gonna pick the Steelers. How you feeling about this one?
Hey, it's a mid off for a reason. Um, I am going with the Colts, actually. I think they try they go ahead and get it done. Are they playing at home or are they playing in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, they're playing at home, Colts.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and say yeah. They're gonna win this one. I'm
I
gonna ride with
like
the
it.
Colts.
We're split early. I like it.
Yeah.
Next up at 8:15, we have the Broncos on the road going up against the Detroit Lions, coming off of a absolute stinker
Yeah.
against Chicago. But I do gotta say, man, between the emerging Chicago defense and the wide receivers actually wide receiving,
Hey.
shout out to that one. Who would have thought? Not me. The Bears might be pulling some things together towards the end of the season, but that has nothing to do with this game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steal the thunder. I'm gonna go first twice in a row. God damn it! I think this
Go
is
ahead.
a sneaky good game, and I'm very worried about the Lions at this point because I feel like if we lose this one, it says a lot about the winning team, but it says much less, in my opinion, about the losing team. I feel like if the Broncos come away the winner here, I think the Lions are really in trouble. Um, but it's weird, right? Because the Broncos have been looking so good lately. Um,
Yeah.
this is a strange one. I think the Broncos' success against the Chargers doesn't really move me as much.
No.
But at the same time, it's been multiple weeks at this point, seeing what they did against the Texans, etc. I think they're for real. But I'm gonna say it, man. I think this Lions team should be able to pull this off here, even though they're not on the best streak as of late, man. They have the better offense. They have the more dynamic offense. It's really going to come down to whether or not they can contain Russell Wilson. And I'm going to bet on the fact that they do. I'm going to go with the Lions here. But this is a game I've got my eyes on for sure because if the Lions lose here, we shouldn't panic, but we should start sweating a little bit.
Well, again, I think they're a young team. Um, so I honestly don't think there's much pressure on the Lions. To be completely honest, I don't think there's much pressure there.
Coming off a
Um,
loss to Chicago,
I'm saying in
old
terms of
man.
like the I'm talking about in terms of like the long term goals. Like
Mhm.
if they were to lose this game, I really don't think there's much pressure on them. Like we're not looking at them as like a contender every year type of team, right? We're looking at them as an up and coming team, and this is their learning steps. You got to go through the process. I'm going to go with the Broncos on this one. I think that honestly, I might have to say I need to apologize. Sean Payton has been doing his thing the last couple of weeks and turned the team around. I had my doubts. I didn't think he was going to be the one to do it, but he's been doing a good job. Russell Wilson has been doing a really good job. Um, I don't I don't think that I'm going to go ahead and say that what took place against the Chargers was an indication of the team either, because the Chargers are the Chargers. But I think the Broncos are more real than that game shows, right? Like I think they're a sturdy team. So I'm gonna go with the Broncos. I'm gonna go with the Broncos. I think it's funny that we're splitting early, but I'm going with them. And the Lions are getting CJ Gardner Johnson back next week, I think. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So I
Yeah,
think going
big one.
into the playoffs, that's a big boost for them. Um, it just feels
Yeah.
weird saying the Lions going into the playoffs.
Hey, I just gotta say they're gonna need a boost from the widest pass rush in the league, but hopefully, they can make it work. Next up,
Yeah.
Giants on the road against the Saints. We have arrived. It is Sunday, 1 o'clock, baby. Um, is this a thing? This is just a thing in the media, right? This isn't anywhere
Um,
near a thing, right?
the game itself or the actual hand motion.
The actual player, Mr.
Oh.
DeVito. Yeah, this isn't a thing, right?
Oh, the agent. Yeah. This is the weirdest thing to be honest. It's weird.
It's a media thing, right? This
It's
isn't
a
a
media
real
thing.
player, right? This
It's
isn't
a
someone to get
well,
excited about.
I wouldn't get excited about him. You know why? Because if I'm a Giants fan, who would you pay the money to? So what's to be excited about?
Exactly.
He ain't starting. He ain't starting. So whatever, man. The Giants. I don't know. I can't get a good read on them, bro. They're not
Same.
they're not that they're not that type of team. They're not that type of team. And why would you surge this late?
What's the
If you're
reason? Yeah,
this
you're fucking
bad,
up your pick.
yeah. If you're this bad, why are you surging? Um, I think things come back to earth for them this week. I'm taking the Saints for sure. I'm not
Yeah,
smart money does not say go the Giants. I don't care who
at
you
all.
got back there as QB. I don't care. I don't care what the narrative is, and I don't care what type of sports agent you got. Don't care. No.
It is fucking hilarious though. I will admit
Oh, it
these are
is.
guys that are for sure infamous around Little Italy, right? Somewhere real close to me. Just strange, right? Just a very weird media storm, right? Which always happens with these New York teams, but it's like if anyone else if this man was having this success anywhere else as a backup QB, there would not be this level of buzz about it. But it's just funny,
Yes.
right? The memes make the world go round. God damn it!
Oh, yes, for sure.
Next up, we got the Bears on the road against the Cleveland Browns, another team that has been very difficult for me to get a handle on. But all things considered, I think defensively they should be able to match what the Bears have been able to deliver offensively. But the question is, can they deliver? as well on the offensive side. This might be a sneaky competitive game too. Um, but I will never say it with my chest and pick the Bears in the year of our Lord 2023. So I'm going with the Browns. Who you got
Where are they playing?
in Believeland?
Bro, I part of me wants to take the Bears so bad. And I'm gonna
This
be
week
honest,
is just a poverty bowl, right? This week is just
it
a poverty bowl. I gotta say,
it is. And the reason why I slick want to take them is because there's so many injuries to the Browns. I don't know who's playing at this point. I think they just signed Joe Flacco to a 1 year. Um,
the goat.
the goat.
We'll never forget.
um, man,
You gotta pick Flacco in that QB duel, right? You got
you
to.
do, you do, you do, you do. Give me the Browns. But
I'm reluctant.
I'm so reluctant to do that. Yeah, give me the Browns. Give me the Browns.
Yeah, at
I'm going
least
with a
if we're
safe pick.
wrong, it won't hurt both of us, right? We'll
Right,
both be
right.
wrong at least, you know. Next up, we've got the Falcons on the road against the Panthers. Just another game that I am sad that we have to cover twice a year, right? Just divisional sadness, right? That's all we gotta
Yeah,
say. Um,
yeah,
yeah, we don't have to think much about this one, right? Bryce Young
uh-uh.
all day.
Yeah. Bryce Young all day. If I'm not mistaken, I think I'm trying to find it, but I think Hayden Hurst is out. Yeah. Um,
Did you forget about Adam Thielen, brother?
no. Um, he's experienced post-traumatic amnesia after a concussion. I've never heard that before. So, but he is out for the season. So, and I believe that was Young's number one target, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Give me the Falcons.
Damn, bro, that is sad. I didn't even hear about that. Thank you for bringing that to the forefront because that does not sound good at all. So I
No,
hope Hayden
it
Hurst
doesn't.
is okay, and honestly, you should question whether or not he even ever does this again. Next up,
Yeah, yeah.
we've got the Bucks on the road against the Packers. It just keeps getting better, right? Every one of
Oh,
these matchups I read off is
matchups are
just like,
amazing.
God damn, it just gets better and better. I'm going with Black Jesus. Give me the Packers, baby.
I'm
How you feeling?
going with the Packers as well. I think like Jesus. I'm going with him. I'm going with him as well.
Hey man, I'm gonna be real. I wanted the Bucks to be a thing this year, right? They're in first place, right? They're in first
That's so
place.
weird.
But the Packers just lost to the fucking Giants, right? Like
Yes,
I'm
yes.
there's no way they lose again. Like it
No,
can't happen
no,
twice. So
no,
yeah, we'll move on. Next up,
no.
we've got a divisional game, divisional sadness once again. Jets at the Dolphins. The Dolphins coming off of a historic collapse against the Titans last week. Shout out to Mr. Will Eat Mayo Levis himself. He will eat the mayo and he will come back on the Dolphins, baby. I'll let you take the dance because I've been fucking selfishly leading this whole show. Why
No,
don't you
it's
let
all
us know how
good.
you feel
It's all
about this
good.
Jets Dolphins matchup?
It's weird. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think Zach Wilson won Conference Player of the Week last week.
That's a meme, right? That's not a real thing.
I I want to say I read that.
What?
It if if I'm not mistaken, I think he did.
What?
Um,
Okay.
I could be wrong. Let me look into it while I'm talking, but I believe he did. Um, I don't think Tyreek Hill is playing. Um, but to be honest, I don't think that matters. I'm going to
Yeah.
Dolphins, bro. I'm not picking the Jets. There is no way on this planet I could ever pick the Jets. I can't
Yeah.
do it. Can't do it. I don't care what they did last week.
Sean, we're sorry, but you probably ain't even picking the Jets either. So you got to do what's right on the show. God damn it. Yeah, this feels like once again an aberration for the Dolphins. I feel like they should be able to make this work against the shorthanded Jets, but who knows? Maybe Aaron Rodgers comes out slinging that thing.
Bro, I swear
Who
on
knows?
everything.
Hey
Aaron
man,
Rodgers, man.
HGH is one hell of a drug. That's all I gotta
One
say,
hell of a
brother.
drug. Yep.
Yeah, someone piss test that man, because that might break
Please.
the machine, brother. That might break the machine. Next up, we've got the Chiefs, the sliding Chiefs that we've correctly picked their downfall last week. On the road against Derrick's favorite, the New England Patriots. This used to be a competitive game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Chiefs by a lot. How you feeling?
Ooh, Chiefs by a lot. I don't see how
Do
the
it.
Patriots do anything. I don't know. Because
Do it,
they
Derrick.
struggled. No, I'm not doing it. They struggled to even put points on the board last week, I think. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, there's no way they do it. I'm going to Chiefs.
Damn, bro. I tried. I tried to sell it. It didn't work out. Next up,
It's nah.
Texans at the Titans. I'll let you take the lead on this one. This is the best matchup we've had so
this
far.
I it is, and I think the Texans, if I'm not mistaken, Stroud should be playing, right?
Yes, but
Um,
still dealing with a lot of injuries on that receivers core.
yeah, I'm reluctant to do it, but I'm gonna take the Titans on this one.
Wow. He took the leap.
Yeah, I'm gonna take
What
the
makes you
leap on
so
this.
confident?
Um, I'm not.
Confidence ain't the word.
Not at all. But when you have injuries to your receiving core, I think that messes up the rhythm and the
Mhm.
chemistry. So I'm gonna just go ahead and take the Titans. And let's see what they can do.
Yeah, man. I try to talk myself into fading you here just so we had another head to head, but yeah, man, I agree. I think I'm going with the Titans here too. I just feel like where they're at right now, they're at a better, more complete team at this moment. But
Hmm.
I want the Texans to win. I hope they make it into
Me
the
too.
playoffs somehow. But
Yeah.
it's looking bad for that at the moment. Next up, our 4 p.m. window on Sunday has finally begun. We've got the 49ers on the road against the Arizona Cardinals. What a spectacular slate of games we have here, brother. I'll let you take the lead on this one. How you feeling about this big red matchup?
Yeah, and I'm not watching because I can't see all that red. That much red annoys the hell out of me. Um, yeah, the Niners. The Niners are gonna win this one. I hate saying it, but the Niners are winning it. I would love the Cardinals to prove me wrong. That would
Yep.
be amazing. That would be amazing. But they're not winning
Yeah.
this one.
I was gonna say Derek would love another Cardinals upset against some of his biggest ops in the league, but
Yes, sir.
I'm
That'd be
going with the
great.
Niners as well. I'm going with the Niners. Commanders at the Rams. I just got to say this, right? I know everyone hates to hear me talk about this. My my Ravens overtime win against this Rams team. This Rams team is for real. Fuck the record. Fuck everything else, man. Puka Nakua is fucking capital D dangerous, right? Cooper Cup is still that fucking guy. Like this
Yes.
offense is a nightmare to deal with, and Matt Stafford is looking fucking peak right now. Like this is Super Bowl level Matt Stafford, and I don't say that
Right.
lightly. Like this
Right.
is
Right.
a legitimate playoff team right now, and I think the Commanders historically have shit the bed. Uh, they need to figure out whatever's going on because despite all the moves that they've had, I've been really shocked with how, as the season has continued to developed, their offense has somehow gotten worse, right? From
Yeah.
earlier on in the year, the offense was the only thing they had, and now that seems to be dwindling as well. So I think it's very easy to go with the Rams here, but I just had to reiterate, man, stop looking at the records. This Rams team is legit. And we were just
Yeah.
talking before this season about how, it might be just rebuild mode time. And man, they hit big on a lot of picks that really got them in a great position right now, not only offensively but defensively as well. So give me the Rams.
Yeah, yeah, and again, it goes back to what we talked about last season. All teams are not their record. They're surging at the right time. Um, yeah, I'm going with the Rams as well, man. I think Washington is going to be down a couple of players, specifically Robinson. So I'm not going with the Commanders in this one. I think
Great
the
shout.
Rams will get this one for sure.
Great shouts. Next up, we got the Cowboys on the road against the Buffalo Billiards. Oh my goodness. Shout out to all those guys upstate from me. But Derek, we're gonna have to do it at some point, right? We're gonna have to have this conversation. Can we just get a reaction, right? A full, thorough reaction to the game last week, and then I'll let you take the lead on how you're feeling about this matchup.
Yeah. So we lost.
I'm
um
sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
but to be honest, I expected it because we never sweep the Cowboys. The Cowboys don't sweep us. I mean, I think we got swept like maybe like a couple years ago, and that was during the rebuild season or whatever. But when we're both on top, we don't sweep. We don't sweep the division, to be honest. So I expected that loss. I expected, put it to you like this: since week 7, okay, there was a slate of games that we were having. There's gonna be Dolphins, Washington, Dallas, Chiefs, Bills, Niners, Cowboys. Those are 7 games right there that people said we weren't going to be on the positive end for, right? I heard people say we were going to lose 3 or 4 of those games. We lost 2. We lost 2 of those games in that 7-week stretch, right? Now, it's the wrong time to lose, right? But when you're coming off of Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, Niners, going into another week against the Cowboys after those hard played games and those matchups, you're likely going to lose. To be honest, so did I choose the Eagles to win? Yes. Didn't happen. Didn't happen, and I wanted a sweep, but it wasn't going to happen. Bottom line. So yeah, we lost the game. However, we've lost 4 or 5 games in 2 years. People keep acting as if the Eagles are 3-10 right now. They're 10-3. They are 10-3. Okay, tied with the Niners and the Cowboys for record. Why are we acting as if the world is falling down? Because every team, if I'm not mistaken, has gone through a stretch where they've lost. Every contender has gone through a stretch this season where it's like, man, they shouldn't be losing these many games. When the Niners lost 3 games, their 3 games this year, it was like, man, what's going on with the Niners? But they're going to be fine. They're not that type of team. So have some respect, right? We are the reigning NFC champions right now. We lost 2 games in a row. That's not who we are. Those guys know that's not how we play. I expect them to bounce back. All respect to what the Cowboys have done because they have turned their play around. To be honest, you can see it in Dak. The way he's playing, he's turned it around. still expect them to fall down to earth. I still expect it. At some point, they are going to fall down to earth because that's what they do every year. That's what they do every year. So I'm not worried about my Eagles. But yeah, when it comes to what's the matchup right now we're supposed to be talking about? The Cowboys versus who?
Cowboys Bills.
Bills. When it comes to the Cowboys facing the Bills in Buffalo, correct?
Hmm.
Is it snowing up there?
That's a great question. I don't think so.
Is it cold?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm taking the Bills. I'm taking the Bills.
Another
Um,
must-win game.
another must win game. I think they are desperate. Yeah, you're playing against a team that needs to get this win. I'm expecting the Cowboys to put up a good fight. I'm expecting the Bills to put up a good fight, but I'm going to take the Bills in this matchup.
Yeah, man. I think this is our game of the week for sure. I think no
Yeah. I
matter
think so
what
too.
happens here, this is actually going to be a fun, competitive one. I
Yeah.
don't see either of these teams getting blown out.
No. No.
Um, yeah, man. I don't know. I don't know. I have been very surprised by the Cowboys. I feel like they've been able to do a lot with a lot less this year than they have, considering who they were supposed to be at the strength of their powers this season, right? Like I feel like they've lost out on a lot of different players and has still found a way to continue to be a dominant force on both sides of the ball. But their offense is really what has been carrying them at this point of the season. And I think it's weird to consider, right, that all things equal, right? If we're not talking narratives, if we're just talking team versus team, I think it's pretty easy to say maybe the Cowboys should be the ones that we're picking here. But I'm confident with the Bills in saying that A, they need this fucking game, like they need this game bad, and and B, they show up big time whenever they need to in these scenarios. And
Yeah.
I think although the Chiefs game wasn't a big blowout or anything like that, I think that level of competitiveness is what's really going to be needed in this matchup too. And I think I'm going with the Bills as well. But this is a dangerous one, man. I think for either of these teams, they don't want to have a loss right now. So that's what makes this a very exciting matchup. But I'm going with the Bills as well. Next up, Ravens at Jags, man. I'm inspired, right? I'm inspired here. Um, Huge win. Shout out Tylen Wallace. Just a beautiful kick return for the win. A moment that I wasn't expecting at all when watching the game. I was just like, wait, no, no, no. And immediately it looked like he was gonna get tackled again. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, no. And then he broke out and I was like fucking losing my mind. But I'm really on a high right now with this Ravens team. I think despite how bad we did defensively last week, once again, I think that's a juggernaut of a team right now. And I think we were able to bottle them when needed, get big stops, and then get big drives to answer back. I just feel so confident in Lamar right now and his decision making and his ability to really make the correct plays more so than make a dynamic play. I think that is a very underrated aspect when you consider we both have teams with QBs that can just do so much for the team that sometimes that gets lost, right? Sometimes making the right play isn't the sexiest thing, but God damn it, it deserves credit the same way those big plays do. And I just been very proud of the way this Ravens team has been operating right now. With once again a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball too. Kyle Hampton, please come back. One of my favorite players on this team. Shout out to
Yeah.
Kyle Van Noy too. Just having um, I'm trying to remember who said that. I think it was Mila Kimes, but she tweeted that this Ravens squad is like episode of the Expendables. Like there's just a whole bunch of older cast of characters that are making their
Yeah.
career moments right now. Shout out to
Yeah.
Kyle Van Noy. Had a huge week for us last week, but um yeah, man, this was a tougher matchup on paper 2 weeks ago, before
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Jaguars had two very close losses to some of my divisional rivals. Right, they took a stroll in the South, and they're having problems. I mean, in the North, excuse me. Um, obviously going to be picking my Ravens, but I'm the homer here, so I'm really excited to hear your
Yes.
take on this. I think the Jaguars are a desperate team right now, which is also what makes this a very interesting game. This also I'm looking at for potential game of the week status. But I just think with the way my Ravens are operating right now, we should be a notch above. How you feeling, Derek?
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I think that you should be able to pull this one out. This is trying to see. This is in Jacksonville. Ooh, warm weather.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's gonna be good for y'all, man.
Yeah, much needed.
That's gonna that's much needed. Yeah, I'm gonna take the Ravens on this one for sure.
Hey, bro, I love it. And
Yeah,
I want to. I gotta ask you a question because I
yeah,
never knew about this to this extent, but um, was watching a lot of footage from the locker room right after that win, and this is a team that prays together, right? This is the team that is really reunited on those fronts. Um, how do you feel as a unit, right? Because I would imagine there's some guys on that squad that aren't religious, right? How do you feel as a unit about teams bringing those aspects of camaraderie to the forefront and making that a part of their identity? How do you feel about teams sort of leading forward in their appreciation of the Lord together and sort of using that as an anchor for their organization? How do you feel about that? Because honestly, when I saw it initially, I was kind of like not put off. Put off isn't the word, but I was kind of like, oh my god, like I didn't know it ran that deep. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, just
yeah.
curious what your reaction would be to a team having moments like that.
Um, I don't have a problem with it. I think if as a player you want to be able to share that with with the audience about what you guys do. Prayer is one of the things that you want to share with the audience. By all means, I have no issues with it. Um, but I will say this is gonna go into a political kind of discussion if I go into it real deep. But
Do it.
pause.
I love it.
Um, if
Thank you.
uh,
I
if
was too eager there. I was too eager there.
yeah, my bad. I would be.
Sounded like
Just like we
Drake, man.
said.
I'm
Yeah.
about to. Yeah, it was bad, bro. I'm sorry. I'm like, do it, bro. Do it. Sorry.
Jesus
Go
Christ.
ahead.
I would be very intrigued to see what the reaction would be if this was players that had a different faith, if they weren't Christians, but they were
Mhm.
Muslims, or um uh, uh um
Buddhists.
Hindu or anything like that,
Mhm.
whatever belief would be. If they believed in something else, how different would the reaction be? You know what I'm saying? And that's the only thing I think about when I see things like that, because I don't have an issue again. I don't have an issue with you displaying your faith. I have an issue with the response to it when um people act as if because someone believes in a different religion than you do, that there's something damaging toward them because you believe something different than they do. So that's my only thing. I would be very intrigued to see what the reaction would be, because I like seeing where people stand when it comes to that. But yeah, personally, I don't have an issue with it.
Dude,
I welcome it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like that was the first thing that came in my head, and it kind of took away from the moment in my
Right,
head because
which
I'm
is
like,
sad.
man, like, yeah, like I love that this is happening, but like,
Yeah,
would this be possible in any other scenario if they weren't saying an Our Father together? Like, would this be
right,
possible? I'm not
right.
sure. But
I don't think so. I don't think so
yeah.
because when you have you know and I've seen it in other areas, but when it comes down to religion, it's either you believe in Jesus Christ or you're other, right?
Hmm.
And it's to me it's interesting because you know the three of those religions came out of one place. So that's where I'm kind of like, eh.
Yeah,
I think that people that criticize it are ignorant to the history of what they believe. I'll put it like that because there's not much difference.
literally.
So,
God
yeah,
damn. We just got deep. We just got deep
we
here on
did,
the
we
show.
did.
And it's important, right? It's
Yeah,
important because although, like I said, I love to see that moment of camaraderie. It
yeah,
really is. It left a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm glad we were able to get to the root reason why.
mm-hmm.
But we can end the week off with our Monday night game. We've got the Eagles on the road against at the link against the Seahawks.
Yes, sir.
Talk to me about the greatest living American, please, because I can't believe all the slander I've been seeing lately, calling for this man's job, calling for all
Yeah,
kinds of crazy shit that just doesn't make any sense. So, tell me about why the
yeah.
Eagles are fine, goddamn it, because I agree.
The Eagles are fine, because they are. Again, like I said earlier, they've
Always
lost.
will be.
They always will be. No, but like I said earlier, they've lost 5 games in 2 years. I don't know what the problem is. It everything that this team does comes under a microscope. Now they went out there 2 weeks ago and allowed the Niners to run all over them, right? They allowed Debo Samuel to have his way. They allowed Brock Purdy to do whatever the hell he wanted to do. I completely agree with all that. Is that indicative of who this team is? No, because you don't win 10 games in a season for it to be a fluke. And I think that's the biggest thing that bothers me is that people act as if what the Eagles have done is a fluke. Again, when 7 of those games um are coming down a stretch where you're expecting them to lose 4 or maybe 5 of those matchups. People going into the season were saying that that slate was the most important part for this Eagles team, and they were going to lose about 4 of those games, 4 or 5 of those games, and they lost 2. Granted, from a pride perspective, did I want those 2 to be to them? No, I would have preferred losing to the Bills. I would have preferred losing to the Chiefs over the Niners and Cowboys mainly because of pride, mainly because of bragging rights, right? But how about this? In a calendar year, we're tied with the Niners. We split with the Cowboys. Okay, again, let's not go overboard here. There's no reason that the Eagles should get rid of Jalen Hurts. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Granted, does he need to play better? Yes, he needs to play better. Yes, he needs to get the ball out of his hands a lot faster. However, you need to have better play calling. And I think that's on Jalen Hurts as well because you have the ability to call audibles, right? Um, again, coaching. Coaching is the biggest issue right now. And it's not just Brian Johnson, because to be honest, the the plays that were called last week against the Cowboys were actually really good plays. They were really good plays. And let's not let's not act as if Brian Johnson's acting on his own. That comes from what Nick Sirianni wants to do, right? So he's calling what Sirianni wants, the style of game that Sirianni wants. The problem comes into play when you're not running the ball, right? And you have your defense out there gassed because they're out there playing 95 snaps, 80 snaps. Why? Because you can't take care of the ball. You know why you can't take care of the ball? Because you're not running the ball at the times you need to run the ball. You keep throwing it into coverage unnecessarily, and then all your players are blocked, and Jalen can't do anything but backpedal. Sorry, you
Putting way
can't.
too
You
much pressure
can't.
on him.
You're putting too much pressure on him, and you're acting as if he needs to be the running back. he does not need to run the ball all the time. Why did you get DeAndre Swift? What was the purpose of bringing Swift to Philly if you weren't going to utilize him? What's the purpose of signing Rashad Penny if you're not going to use him?
There
What's the
also
purpose?
has been mixed performances lately, right?
There have
Maybe
been mixed
that's
performances.
factoring into that decision making.
So that's the question, though. Like,
Hmm. What came
is
first, the chicken or
is
the
that
egg, right?
right? Is that the reason? Now, if that's the reason, okay, I can work with that, right? But you got to do better. You can't shy away from running the ball because these guys have had a, a, a mistake or two in a game.
Yeah.
You can't stop throwing the ball because AJ Brown dropped the pass or DeAndre Smith. I mean Devontae Smith dropped the pass. Granted, your big three, Hurts, Brown, and Smith, all had fumbles on plays where they were about to score the ball.
Yep.
Those are three touchdowns you took away right there. And then you got penalized a lot of times as well. So this goes on the offensive line, this goes on the offensive players, this goes on the coaching. It's something that can be fixed. It's something that can be fixed. Will it be fixed? I believe so. You know why? Because I've seen what this team has been for the last 2.5 years. You don't go to the Super Bowl off of fluke. Everybody acting as if the world is falling down and stop. If I'm not mistaken, there are four teams in the league right now. They're at 10-3.
Yep.
Are they not one of them?
And two of them are represented by this show right here, man. You love to see.
Exactly. It's like let's act accordingly. Okay.
Yep.
People just want to drive a specific narrative. Now, if for some reason the Eagles fail to make it to the Super Bowl this year, or they fail to make it to the NFC Championship this year, are there questions that will be asked? Yes. Yes. There will be questions asked.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. Are we at that point right now? No.
Hmm.
Everything is fine. I am not panicked. Am I concerned? Yes. Am I panicked? No, because I know what the identity of this team actually is. They went through a stretch of the last 2.5 weeks where they played that physical type of team
Hmm.
within a condensed time frame. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what did they make this a lot harder for themselves? Yes. They made it a lot harder for themselves. Is it impossible? No.
Yeah. And I think going against an offense too that's just having a really hard time running the ball as well is should be able to help you guys as far as having a clear plan of attack, right? We know what we're going up against. And like you said, man, I just think no matter what, it's just a funny league in that way, right? Like everyone, hey, don't get me wrong, you deserve your bragging rights, right? If you lose, you deserve to talk shit
Yeah.
because god damn
Yeah.
it, that's just what it is. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I agree with you, man. The amount of ridiculous takes I heard from Hertz needing to be benched, which is just comically fucking hilarious. Like, what are you even saying? Like, if a team were to do that, um, do you realize how big of a story that would be? Like, do you understand what it actually would mean to do something like that? Like, it's just fucking like you're memeing. You know exactly what
Right.
you're doing. You are memeing right now. And
Right.
that's okay, right? But I guess it was just once again with much is given, much is expected, and it makes sense that so much is expected out of these great teams. But
Yes.
just keep that
Yes.
same energy when they're playing against other great teams. Like your
Right.
losses look way better than my Ravens losses, right? Like they look
Mm-hmm.
way better on paper than my losses.
Yeah.
But they're created equal when you look at the number on the goddamn schedule. So it's like I don't know,
Yes.
man. Uh, Context is everything, and if you're panicking or hitting the panic button on Philly because of these games, it's like, man, you must have wanted these guys to lose. Like that's the only reason why
Hey,
you could be confident in saying that because you feel a little salty. That's the only thing that makes
yeah.
sense, man.
And how about this? It comes across as if they're scared.
Yeah,
It really does. It
right.
really
Hating
does.
can't stand to see a young black man shining, man.
Bro,
That's the problem. That's the
look,
problem.
that's the problem. Is something I've lived with my entire life. You
Yeah.
hate seeing black men succeed, and it's perfectly fine because they'll do it anyway.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? No problem here. No problem here. The Eagles are winning this game. This to me is a must win, not in terms of like, oh, they're finished if they don't. It's a must win in terms of a confidence boost. It's a must win in terms of they had not played a full complete game this season. That's another thing that nobody's talking about. They have not played a complete game all season. I'm talking about offense, defense, special teams have all been on fire. It's always been
And
two
you're
to
10
three
and
or
3.
one of the three. And they are 10-3. What are we talking about here?
Hmm.
If the Cowboys did what we did, this is amazing.
Yeah.
It's an
Remember when they
aberration. Nothing,
lost to
don't
the
worry about it.
Cardinals? Was anyone asking to bench Dakota Rain back then? Hilarious. Hypocrisy, bro. That's what it
It
is.
is. It is. It is. It is. And yes, this is the reason why I didn't watch any commentary on the Eagles this week at
Yeah.
all. Not one single piece of commentary did I watch because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I already knew everybody's going to say the same exact thing, and it is what it is.
All overblown bullshit. Literally,
Yep.
couldn't get any worse than that.
Yep.
But we don't have to keep doing it to ourselves. That's the best part about having our own show.
Yeah.
God damn it, because we both know the Eagles are winning this week. We're both putting it down, and
Yes, sir.
most importantly, we got another week in the books. God damn it, week
Yes,
15.
sir.
Good
Yes, sir.
luck with all of our picks. Right as of right now, our standings are as follows. Derrick is sitting at a calm, cool 141 wins, 67 losses, while I am sitting at 143 wins, 65 losses. Do you think we will go through this season without a tie? Because, god damn it, it looks like we're going to do it,
I I want to say I don't know.
right? It
I
feels like
don't
it's
know.
bound to happen.
Yeah, it should. I've been trying to catch up with you all season.
Oh, no, I meant like a tie in the actual football games, but
In the games.
I wasn't trying to
I'm talking about our
shade you, bro. I'm
predictions.
sorry. I'm talking about in the actual games. He's like, yeah, man, I'm trying. I'm fucking trying, Chris. That wasn't what I meant.
Fighting
That
for my
that
life.
sounded like an asshole move, if that's what I meant for sure.
Nah, man. Yeah, no, we're not winning. We're not gonna have a tie. We're not gonna have one this year.
Ooh,
We
that's an
should.
interesting hot take in itself, right?
We
It's weird
should.
that we haven't had one at this point, but
Yeah.
I just gotta say I don't give a fuck about. I mean, hey, I'm really competitive, okay? So I do
Yeah,
care
me
about
too.
that. I care about this
Yeah.
head to head. I care about winning. But I just gotta say the excellency being put forth by both of us this season is fucking nuts, bro. It's historic, man. We're doing our damn thing, even though last week was
Hey.
atrocious for both of us. These are phenomenal records for head-to-head picks, no matter how you fucking slice it. And we've got multiple games that we're on opposite sides of here, so you definitely could swing it your way just this week. So a
Hey,
lot's at
we'll see.
stake here in Week 15, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes,
But
sir.
just like
Great
that,
stuff.
man, I think we're done. I think we're
Yes,
done.
sir. Yes,
So
sir.
once again, before we get out of here, why don't you let the people know where they can find you?
Most definitely. You can follow me again at Derrick underscore OTS. That's DERRICK. Black way to spell it. And just so everyone is aware, we are coming back full force next top of the year. We have a lot of stuff that Realish is about to do. And the sideline guys is doing, Life's a Botch. And fans is coming back next year. I took a nice sabbatical from posting on social media, but I will be returning back to doing that at the top of the year. with help from my brother here and my other brother Matt. So we're gonna put out a lot of good stuff for you guys. It's just about I think one of the things that we had to come to the realization of, especially this year, was finding balance in in content creation and personal life. You know, and Chris and I have had a lot of stuff taking place this year on both fronts. So we're looking to get the balance and come and do something great with our content and bring something that you guys are going to enjoy even more. So thank you guys for that have been supporting, especially this year, because God knows I didn't do much to push anything out this year with for you guys to be looking forward to. But I got my break, and I'm looking forward to joining my brother here and putting out some great content for you guys. So please be on the lookout for that as well.
Yes, sir. This man's talking about joining me like he isn't the standard of excellency here at OTS. So we all get our resets, we all get our time, but never forget, we putting out like a fucking exclusive escort on this side of the
Yes.
street, man. We're putting out beautiful content regularly at a breakneck pace. So make sure that you're
Yes.
tuned in so you can get all of our coverage, whether it's NFL, NBA, MMA, cinema, and all things in between. Make sure you're tuned in to OTS Media Co. on all social media platforms so you don't miss a thing, god damn it. But also make sure
Sir.
you follow me at Negron MMA on Twitter as well as Instagram so you could get all my updates on this show, TSG, on all fronts, man. Really excited for what we have going on the MMA side of things too. Going to be doing some recap shows before the end of the year for boxing and MMA as well. So looking forward to that. Trying to get some star-studded cast of characters to join me for those. So should
Yes,
be
sir.
all fun times. Look forward to that. But just like that, we out of here, man. Four foes, I'm tipping. My knees is feeling a little weak. But Staley, make sure you start learning some Chinese. We'll catch you next week, brother.